Hello and welcome to the Thomas Benjamin Wilde Esquire podcast. On this episode, I am delighted to welcome, for my first actual interaction, proper discussion with the Misbehavin Maidens. So, hello Maidens, welcome to my podcast. So, I'm trying to come up with a description for the kind of music that you do. To the uninitiated, would you be able to describe to me the kind of music that you do?
I think we have a pretty decent way of starting this out. It's funny, filthy, feminist, fandom, folk music. That's kind of how we've carved down. We're very sex positive. We are LGBTQ inclusive, and we sing about fandoms and all the things we like.
And we really like another F word too, as you do. Yeah. We have that in common.
I think that's actually how we kind of came across it. Came to kind of chatting, really.
Yeah.
Because actually, I don't know what happened. My first memories of kind of meeting you maidens, was on Twitter. I seem to remember you shared one of my videos, and I remember kind of thinking, because you'd said whatever had been said about it kind of made me feel very, very proud about kind of the kind of music I was putting out there, because I think you recognised the sentiment behind a lot of it. So yeah, I mean that's where kind of we first kind of. So how did you kind of come across my music? What's your take on how we kind of first started chatting to each other?
It was my fault.
Okay,
I'm lucky Annie. Hello.
I was going to Flint's or Annie's fault.
It was my fault. I think it's possible Flint and I found the song at the same time when it went viral on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I tend to do a lot of the Twitter for the band. So yeah. I think I was like, I'm always big on like reaching out to people whose music we like. And I was like, this is a kindred spirit. and probably said like, hi, we also like to swear. How are you today? And then very shortly thereafter, I think it might've been even the same day or the next day, we were traveling to a convention that we were performing at, and Saber was driving, and I was in the passenger side seat, which meant I got to control the music. And I said, no, seriously, you all have to hear this song right now. Yes. And I played it like this, I think I had it on YouTube or on Facebook on my phone, and it didn't even have it plugged into the speaker, but we were all just giggling so much and saying, this is so good. So I remember that quite well, actually. I was like, we need to be friends.
The thing that struck me actually was kind of just how much you guys got it. I keep using the term guys. It's a force of habit. I apologize for that.
I grew up in Minnesota. Yeah. Guys was the collective for so long. It's fine.
But I was just really pleased that you had kind of understood because I've had lots and lots of what we call Brexiteers over here, the people who voted to leave the EU, which I most definitely didn't. Getting in contact going, yeah, Brexit, and lots of Trump supporter going, yeah, this should be the Trump anthem. And I think I was so pleased that you had found me and had seen kind of quite where I was coming from. I was very, very flattered by that, I have to say. So going back to your music anyway, where you've got quite a folksy kind of influence, haven't you? Would that be kind of a fair thing to say?
Oh, definitely. Like, I grew up in the folk tradition, and a lot of I was raised very conservatively. So folk music was like okay music, right? Because even though it talked about sex and drinking and violence, it was all like shrouded, right? Where you could kind of push those songs to the side and be like, here's some pleasant folk music. So I was raised in that. So when I started the Maidens, it was very like, oh, we're going to do primarily folk music. And then slowly other things have kind of slipped their way in, which I love. I'm happy about. That's for sure. But definitely has a lot of folk influence for sure. Yeah.
I recollect my parents.
Saber speaking, by the way.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Since this will be audio only at some point, just I don't know.
It's very much. So sorry, Saber was just speaking then. Sorry, I should announce it really, shouldn't I? I should really announce it. It's very much kind of my parents are older, the old 60s, 70s folk revival. So I've got their whole record collection behind me at the moment, and it's full of kind of old English folk bands, some of which is just an old farmer singing in a field.
Yep.
So kind of as soon as I kind of listened to your music, it very much kind of resonated quite massively. Where do all the other influences come from? Because obviously kind of Sabre, you're very much coming from that background. Where's everybody else's kind of influences coming from there?
This is Annie. For me, definitely comedy music. I grew up listening to Weird Al, Smothers Brothers, just a ton of comedy music, and thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so my favorite thing to do with performing is making people laugh.
Mine too.
I probably come from hi, this is Flint. I generally come from kind of the comedy music, but also I like a cappella, because like I've always been a harmonizer. So anything that can let me like blend my voice with others, that kind of thing, and be able to kind of make arrangements from that, I really love. And obviously, like Annie and I used to be in a pirate band together before the Maidens, so we kind of have the maritime tradition behind us too.
So you were in a pirate band?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes. It's called Pirates for Sale, SAIL. It's a pun. And they're still around. They're still performing. We were part of the band. I was in it 2010 to 2014. Flint, I think you started in 2009-ish?
Yeah, 2009 2014.
Yeah. So, it was a lot of fun. Played at a lot of pirate festivals and a local pirate bar, which is where the Maidens actually met.
You've got pirate festivals in the US. Do you have actual pirate festivals?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, up on the East Coast, yeah.
It's like Pirate Lollapalooza. There's a stunning amount of pirate musicians on the eastern seaboard of the US, and there are annual events that just gather multiple pirate bands and pirate reenactors and things like that. And they're a lot of fun.
Excellent. So Rouge, where would you say your influences come from?
I would say, actually, I don't actually have a lot of musical influence in the band. I don't write any of the music. I just get up on stage and do what they tell me to. But I definitely actually just listen to a lot of folk music on my own. So I would say definitely it's the same sort of sounds that I'm just choosing to listen to.
Because you're
not in the band.
Rouge O'Malley, aren't you? Is your performance?
Yes,
right?
yes. My handle is Rouge O'Malley.
Where does the O'Malley come from? Because that's very Irish kind of.
I mean, so how the band got started at the pirate bar that Sabre and I worked at, we all came up with pirate names for ourselves, and Rouge O'Malley was mine. I got dubbed Rouge because of the red hair, and then I started wearing a lot of red clothes, and I just tacked on O'Malley at the end, since my family is actually more like Irish ancestry than and I didn't want anyone to think that just because my name was Rouge, I could speak French to them. So this was the way to nip that in.
Well, this is the thing, is that kind of my stage name, people question that all the time, because Esquire, everyone in the US thinks I'm a lawyer or I come from a law background. Yeah. It's just a name I thought of myself that sounded good before I introduced myself on stage one day. So you all got together, you used to work in a bar together, is that right? Did you say?
Sabre and I worked in the bar together, and then the Pirates for Sale was one of the bands that performed there, and that's how we met Annie and Flint. So when Sabre got the idea to start this singing group, that was how all of us ended up falling into the audition process and starting the group together. So
excellent. So you mentioned about kind of the writing. Because I write my songs myself, I do all of it. I'm always interested to see kind of what the dynamic is with kind of with group acts. How do you go about writing your songs? What is the process of writing yours? Because some of yours are based on existing melodies, aren't they?
Yeah, we have several based on traditional songs, some covers, some parodies. Generally, I'm the parody writer of the group. But I feel like Sabre and Annie are the main writers of new stuff, and I tend to write parodies, or I tend to add verses to the stuff that they brought in. That tends to be my.
And you played the ukulele as well, don't you, Flynn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, or at least I've taught myself how to play ukulele since we started the band.
Like we all have. I decided the ukulele was the funniest instrument because I'm a big guy, and that was literally my thinking behind it. Is that it looks?
That's
funny.
the only one I can't play guitar. My fingers do not work for six strings. 4 strings maybe.
So yeah, I'm just looking at my questions on here. So, do you all have other jobs? So what do you do in your kind of day, in your working week, other than kind of playing in Misbehavin Maidens or singing in Misbehavin Maidens?
I'll go last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a web project manager.
Okay.
I'm generally a web dev. I'm in transition at the moment, but yeah.
Yeah, I just do admin support, government contractor sort of stuff. Nothing terribly exciting. And now, Saber, take it away.
I'm an adult professional sexual educator and also a adult content creator. So I teach adult sex ed, and then on my other days I make porn. So that's what I do.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Great stuff. So you are in Maryland, are you?
Yes.
All of you?
Yep. All in Maryland.
How is Maryland in terms of, I call it Maryland, whereas you call it Maryland.
Merlin.
Really, people
Merlin.
in Baltimore.
Merlin.
No, if you live in Baltimore, you don't pronounce all those letters either. It's Balmer.
Balmer.
Anyway, Maryland. How has it been over the last few months in Maryland with all the stuff that's going on with coronavirus?
Internally screaming emoji.
I mean, I guess we haven't been as bad as some states, but
Yeah.
I would definitely say that, like, we do have, we shut down pretty quickly. The government kind of was like, hey, everybody stay home. They're saying wear masks and things like that. There are a lot of other states that are failing at a much higher rate than our state is, but we still have a really high, like, confirmed, cases rate comparatively to some of the states that really did the lockdown well. So even though it's like you can kind of go, well, we're doing okay, yeah.
So because you're seeing those graphs kind of constantly at the moment. Are you on an upscale at the moment, or is it kind of gradually going down?
Maryland is kind of flatlined. We were trending downward for several weeks, and now we're kind of plateaued. I think the scary thing, though, is within the county where I live, which is a different county from the others, we have more confirmed cases than 20 states in the U.S. have. Wow. So very small area with a disproportionately high number of cases.
We are in a similar position here in Bedford, where I live in the UK. We are something like 9th in the UK for per capita infection rates, and the area that we live in, the ward that we live in, is the problematic ward. It's the problematic area. We've just been in our house for the entirety.
Yeah, just like bugger down, stay safe.
Yeah.
So have you been kind of staying at home for the most part and working from home, or have you been having to go out? Or
I haven't left my house since February. So yeah, I've been in my house since February.
Yeah, our last rehearsal in person was in March. I was just looking back. So you were at least here in March my place where we have rehearsal.
I feel like I missed that rehearsal.
No, where's a picture? I can guarantee you were here.
Well, then, right.
Yeah, remember we did
cookies.
We did cookies and shots.
Yes,
oh
we
my
did
God, that's right.
shots.
That was the last. No, you're right. You're right. That was like the last time I was out of the house. Yeah.
Yeah. I largely don't leave, but I just actually got back from my partner and I rented a cabin for a long weekend. That's like, the cabin itself was fairly isolated. They had really good, strict cleaning protocols between guests. We didn't see other humans. So it was like the safest we felt going on a vacation of a few days. But other than that, I've mainly just been in my apartment for months. Same as Saber.
Yeah, same for me, except for like going for groceries across the street. That's about as far as I go.
I mean, we're trying to be
bubble tea. I had to do once. Or twice.
we're trying to be careful. We're just trying to be as careful as we possibly can, and kind of we're going out with masks and stuff, even though our government aren't telling us to do that. It's pretty crazy. When was the last time you played a gig together?
February.
February, you're right. We did
New Deal
Cafe.
Yeah, that's one of our local places we play a few times a year, is the New Deal Cafe. It's this fantastic
Vegan co-op.
hippie co-op, and they have really good vegan food.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you kind of lost a lot of kind of gigs over the last 3 or 4 months then?
Yeah, the entire year's been canceled, really.
Yeah, because we can't, it's very hard for 4 of us to rehearse together because we can't do it over the latency of audio calls. So
I mean it must be kind of really tough being in a band, so to speak, because you can't practice together.
Yeah, I keep seeing our friend bands like the Blibbering Humdingers do, like they're doing performances because they are a literal family unit who all live together anyway, so they can keep performing online and everything. And I'm like, we can't get together because, well, you know, 2 of us have chronic illness and are really vulnerable to this thing. So, and you know, others of us live with people who are, so we're being very strict and careful, and not expanding our bubbles really at all.
It's ridiculous. And because your big one's Dragon Con, isn't it? That's the big festival that you do every year.
And they just canceled.
I saw that you'd
they went online only.
Yeah.
Which, you know, my big festival every year is Twinwood Festival, and they cancelled a while back as well. And I just knowing that the whole year is now a write-off is just, it's quite frustrating and a little bit depressing, really.
It is. We had 3 house concerts lined up as Kickstarter rewards as well that have all been pushed to 2021 now, for the good of the realm. So but then at the same time we've got stuff like, I think our local Renaissance Fair is still happening, against all common sense.
I mean, it's one of those things where they just keep announcing little bits here and there about like what parts are not going to be functional at the fair. And at this point, it's like everybody, even the people who want fair to happen, are like, fair should just close. If this many things have to change for us to have it at all, why the hell is it even happening? And literally like the people in charge are like, we can't talk about why we're still going on as if it's happening. They're not saying it's canceled, but they're not saying it's happening, and it's like everything's so frustrating right now.
But I think the thing is that I, as a performer, wouldn't feel comfortable going and playing at any of those places. I think I'm sure you probably feel the same way.
Singing has like it disperses particles much further than if you're just speaking. I think it was like 23 feet was like the safe distance from a singer to the crowd. And that's just really, like, we don't play any place that has that much distance between us and a crowd. And crowds are a bad idea too, so, you know.
Yeah.
Well, the whole point of what we do is we want you to kind of make people laugh and be able to play to audiences and have them singing along and doing all those kind of things. And that is literally the worst environment that it possibly could be.
Exactly. But it's given us time to, you know, focus on other creative stuff and, you know, think about new songs and things like that. I know Saber's been busy, like, writing songs and learning to play your new instrument and everything.
That's been fun. I have a trail dulcimer trail dulcimer that I'm learning, and I'm terrible with stringed instruments, but I'm giving it a real go. So
for those of us who don't know, what is a trail dulcimer, did you say? It's
doesn't look anything like a lap dulcimer or a full, you know, like dulcimer of any kind. It looks like a very skinny ukulele almost. It's 3 strings. It's almost impossible to play it wrong. And it's just very, very simple, but it has a very nice kind of twang sound to it. It's weirdly, you're like, is this a ukulele? Is this a banjo? What is this? And it's apparently called a trail dulcimer. So I think a travel stick is the other term that people give it too, because literally you could put it in a backpack almost. It's very small. So yeah.
Excellent.
I did incidentally squee pretty hard when I saw your viral video and saw you were playing a banjo-lele. I was like, that's amazing.
Yes.
The latest,
I have a real soft spot for banjo-leles.
Add that to my collection eventually.
the latest one I've just picked up is I don't know if you can see it on the wall up here. This is a banjolin, which is a cross between a banjo and a mandolin. I have no idea how to play it. It just looks really so it's hanging on my wall at the moment. It's a vintage one as well, so it's pretty old.
Nice.
I've no idea how it works or anything.
That's fine. I'm working on a lute. Cool. I have a lute ukulele that I can't really play that well just because the back, like, it's hard to keep in place because it keeps like.
Oh yeah, because it has like the rounded back.
The rounded back against. I can't hold onto it right. So I'm learning that one.
Anyway, I've just got a thing that flashed up on the screen saying that they're giving me an extra 40 minutes or something for free, which probably means we're talking for quite a while on Zoom. So I'm going to move on to talking about fandoms, because you are kind of, I'm guessing you're all part of kind of extensive fandoms in terms of various pop culture areas. What are your favourite fandoms? What would you say the best fandoms are?
Opening that box of worms. Let me get out my scroll.
So to start, I have an entire song that I'm working on and that we hopefully will release in 2021 about how your fandom is terrible. So just to start, like, we recognize that like there's no such thing as the best fandom, because all of them are kind of bad in their own ways of how rabid fandoms can be.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than starting to like a show or something and then you meet the other fans of it and it's just like, oh no, I don't want to join this club. So that can definitely happen even with things you like a lot yourself.
Yeah. But I would say the best fandom, in my opinion. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. Like heavy Lord of the Rings for sure. For many, many years, just watched through all of the extended editions, like straight in a row here at the house, because what else are you going to do?
Right.
That's on my list too.
We
reiterated my love for it, for sure.
We pitched a tent in our back garden the other week to feel like we were on holiday, and we sat and watched the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy through. It was great. Every so often I have to return to it because I do love the Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So anybody else?
Oh, I feel like it's
Flint
such
and
a long
I have too many.
Yeah.
Rouge, you go next because we'll be here all day if Flint and I start.
I mean, for a long time it was Game of Thrones for me. Obviously with the final seasons that has sort of taken my love for it has cooled a little bit, but and then my favorite show, but then I don't actually hang out with other fans, is actually Farscape.
Okay. I've never watched Farscape, but I know of it.
I love it because it's insane, because it's, sort of the stereotypical sci-fi, except then there's puppets, and that's just accepted as part of it. And then the lead character really is just slowly going insane over the course of the seasons. And he's actually does way better at surviving when it's just like he stops trying to have anything make sense. And he's just slowly going insane from all the things that happen to him. And I love it. It's a weird mix of very gritty and very lighthearted nonsense, and something about that appeals to me. So
oh man.
Okay. Go on then, Flint.
Flint, go ahead.
Okay. So I have to say my two biggest, at least at the moment, I'm a huge Dungeons and Dragons addict. I play multiple campaigns weekly. I collect dice.
That's putting it mildly to say you collect dice.
Is this why you were giving away the dice, the Misbehavin Maidens dice? Is that where that came from?
Oh yeah, that came from, that was my idea. And I'm a big anime nerd. I come from like the anime otaku background for like years and years, decades, since I was like 12-ish. Anime cons were my first ever cons. I've been going to them consistently for decades. I'm at over like 130 cons at this point. Most of them are anime cons because of that. I've met most of my friends through them.
Excellent. And so, Annie, what would you say is your Your number one
I'm very
fandom?
I'm very polyphanimous. I have so many. But I'm going to say my longest lasting and my current favorite, just to keep it simple. So longest lasting would be Mystery Science Theater 3000 / Riff Tracks. I really like watching people make fun of bad movies. I just really, really enjoy that. And currently I am binging Legends of Tomorrow, which initially my reaction to it was like, this is really dumb. And then the more I watched it, I'm like, this is amazing. It's an entire show where it looks like the creators are just daring the network to cancel it every episode by being much more, just so much of a thing every episode, and just topping themselves consistently in the ridiculousness of it. And just seeing that, no, they don't get canceled. They keep getting renewed. They've got season 6 coming soon, maybe, ? Who knows with Hollywood?
So, yeah, I mean, I guess my top one would have been Firefly had it kind of carried on, I think. And we watched that again recently. There was literally the noise that we made, just kind of the thought of kind of how many series of it there could have been now. And kind of like the fact that we could have binged through so many seasons had it not got cancelled. But the one that I've been most involved with in recent years has been the Potter, the Harry Potter community, which we'll talk about in a little while. But I absolutely love that your song Consent. Who wrote that one?
That would be Saber. I wrote that. It was just
that to so many
little ditty.
Various people that I know who were involved in kind of various fandoms and stuff, and actually it's rung true and resonated quite massively with a lot of them as well. But also people on the vintage scene, which I'm quite a big part of. When you dress up in kind of suits and tweeds or kind of amazing hats, people just come over and sort of grab and try and touch you.
I was a reenactor for like 10 years. I did medieval and colonial and Renaissance. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I think I don't actually cosplay so much as do historical recreations. And yeah, it's a huge problem of people just coming up and being like, oh, let me touch you. And the weird thing is about being like a woman with, a boobs and wearing a corset a lot of the time with these historical costumes is people will come up and just touch your boobs and be like, hey, like this is how are they held up like this? And it's like, what? This is not. I'm not a prop. I'm not a statue. What is going on? So yeah, so that song has like, even though I'm not a cosplayer, has like very real meaning for me.
As a cosplayer, it has real meaning for me, coming from like cosplays, not consent things and anime cons. Like I came from the days of the yaoi paddle where people would just take a paddle and beat each other with them on the ass randomly.
And glomping at conventions. Just people running up and tackling you.
Yeah, I got bitten by a random Klingon at a con once because I was wearing a lot of leather and rivets for my cosplay, and it was just completely random in the hallway, and I sort of was like, did that just happen? Did someone just grab me and bite my neck and leave? Like, yep, it happens. It sucks.
And I apologize for men. That's all I can do.
I mean, women have done it too. That's another part of the
But for the most part, it is men, isn't it? It's kind of guys that do it. Now, going back to this kind of whole Potter thing, because there is a big elephant in the room at the moment. Now, I remember J.K. Rowling making comments a couple of years ago, actually, and kind of hoping that she didn't know what she was saying and kind of sitting back and kind of going, hopefully she's going to learn, and hopefully she'll kind of put a statement out kind of retracting what she said or saying that she's learned from it. Sadly not. Now, from your perspective, kind of coming from where you do with all of this, what is your take on this whole kind of situation, and how does that tie in with kind of a fandom and kind of being a fan of something where the author has spectacularly shit the bed and smeared it all up the walls, so to speak?
I know for my part, like, because I also love stuff like Lovecraft and other problematic writers and things like that, where I didn't know that they were problematic at the time of reading it, like, and it should have been very obvious at the time, but wasn't necessarily. And so it's one of those things where it's weird dealing with an author who is currently doing it, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, well, okay, they're dead, and they were racist, but they're dead, right? So I'm going to keep reading this dead book.
And they did it in the past. Times were different back then.
Right, times were different. You can make all the excuses you want, but this is happening like actively right this second. And I mean, I would say Harry Potter is probably the fandom that we kind of, all four of us like, right? Or liked, like, or, you know, are actively, it's the one fandom we all agree on in this sense, right? We all sorted into separate houses. And as a Slytherin, it's very, like, I've had to come to terms with also like being part of the Nazi characters, essentially, you know, and like having that, like, and it took me years to come to terms with the fact that it's like, you can have all of these tendencies of being manipulative and things like that and not be a dick about it, right? Kind of thing.
Manipulate for good.
Manipulate for good, right? Use your evil powers for good, you know, kind of thing. And yeah, so now coming at it again, and people are like, if you even mention your Hogwarts house, I'm going to come after you, whatever. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I would say definitely still processing what to do about this, because my identity as a Slytherin is so strong for me. Like,
and you've even got a song about it. I mean, you've even got
a song about it. Like, and now I'm like, oh, do I keep singing my song about Slytherins? I don't know, you know. So yeah, it's rough.
And I think there's a lot of people invested in this, and the message of those books, has it been tainted by her comments? Do you think?
I think it's been tainted by her comments, and also, you know, I read the books. I'm older than anyone in the band, and when I was reading the books, I was out of college. Like, I was in my early 20s, and I'm actually ashamed looking back that I didn't pick up on a lot of like the racist and sort of anti-Semitic undertones to some of the things in the books. Not even just the things JK says, but there are things that are problematic in the books in a big way. And looking back on them, it does kind of sour them for me. I will say that I think the opinion of the Maidens as a whole is fuck TERFs.
Yep.
Like, we none of us, we absolutely condemn the things that JK is saying, and just really wish she would learn and listen and grow in a big way. But I think it does kind of sour that.
That's a big thing as well, about kind of learning and growing. Because there was this letter, I don't know if you saw the open letter that went out that various people had signed about cancel culture, and a bit stifling free expression and that kind of thing. My take on that is really, actually, all anybody's asking anyone to do is learn and grow, and if you're not willing to do that, then
cancel culture.
Be a decent human being.
Cancel culture, in my opinion, is what white people call dealing with consequences for their actions.
Thank you.
You know, like, it's just putting a fancy term on, you know what, we don't like that you're saying that, and we don't have to buy your stuff anymore because you're saying stuff that is really harmful to the human race.
But they're also the same people that complain about people wanting safe spaces and all of that kind of thing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of having it both ways. Having it both ways. Yeah, it's like, you know, we are special snowflakes. No one else is allowed to be. And, you know, it's especially one of the things I saw online that really resonated with me is people say, well, why don't we give them a second chance? And the problem is, with most of these people, they've been given second chances, third chances, fourth chances, fifth chance. This is not the first transphobic thing JK has said or done. This is not like said one thing and the whole internet decided she was over. No, she just keeps saying this kind of stuff. And like, comedians who are being taken to task for, you know, racism, misogyny, sexual assault, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, these are patterns that have been allowed to continue for, in many cases, decades. And people are saying enough. And we should be saying enough.
I think there's also, like, as somebody that was raised in really conservative culture, I think there's also, you have to look at what the person is saying, because there are definitely artists that like have just started out, and you look at their older work like 10 years ago, and you're like, wow, that joke did not age well. Yeah. But then when you look at what they're saying now, their language is different. They've changed how they speak about things. Yeah. They've changed their jokes, right? And you go, okay, well, I'm not going to judge them by that. I'm going to judge them. And so it's again, or maybe they, it's like you see the person who's like, I didn't realize that joke was bad. Right. And they're like, wow, maybe I should reevaluate. And it's like, if they're saying stuff like that, then you can be like, okay, let's give them another chance. Right. But if they're doubling down and going hard into it, like the way that JK is going with the science of, trans, and it's sort of like, no, first off, that's not right. And then also, why are you doubling down on it when like clearly the evidence is against you, right? And I think that's where it's like, this person doesn't deserve a chance anymore, because they need to go away for a while and prove that they belong in society.
No,
and the people who are learning and growing are not the people complaining about cancel culture.
No.
It's the people who are doubling down on their positions, who are mad that there are consequences for saying hateful things, that are saying, oh, cancel culture. And it's like, but you don't understand why. You don't understand why this is hurtful.
It's like, the point. Whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even we as a band have changed lyrics and changed jokes. Like there have definitely been jokes that I remember that I personally like really enjoy telling on stage that I don't tell anymore, because I realize that it's triggering to other people, or it's more problematic than I would really like to. It's like, wow, I find that funny. Why do I find that funny? Kind of like
there's songs that I used to sing in the past. There's songs that I've kind of known from artists that I've loved since kind of I was and I've never seen a problem with the lyrics, until you then kind of go, actually, no, hang on a sec. These are a little problematic. I'm not gonna sing this song anymore.
Saber should talk about the alphabet song, the original alphabet song.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So my alphabet song, which is all about sex toys, and like positions and things like that, and it's like A is for anal and things like that. Hope I can say that. And the original song, there's like the sailor's alphabet, and it's somebody brought that song to me and was like, oh, you do this parody song of, here's the original song, because I had seen like 2 different parody versions of this song, and I wrote my parody from that parody, and then I found out the original song, and it's one of the most horrific songs I've ever listened to in my life, and it's very racist and very sexist and like full of like rape references and things. It's awful. It's a really horrific song, and somebody thought that I would enjoy that song because of like content that I had. They're like, oh, you sing songs like this, so you'll enjoy this. And I was like, whoa. And that was like a really big turning point for me in my brain of like, what do I need to be saying here?
That's why for me, I find that quite often when kind of people can't see past that I did a song with swearing in it. It's kind of, oh, you like songs with swearing in it. Why don't you try covering this one? And it's just like, because it's horrendous and the message in it is horrible, and there's horrible things in that. So no, I know exactly where you're coming from there. Anyway, we got a bit heavy there. So moving on. Let's talking about kind of influences on your current work. Who should we be listening to if people like your music? Who else should they be listening to?
Yeah,
Annie's got this.
Annie is our Filk dealer. Like,
because I'm on social media is how I tend to find a lot of the other groups and like, oh, that's a group kind of like us. Oh, I'm going to listen to them. Oh, they're awesome. Let me tell everybody about them. So yeah, I think one of my favorites is the PDX Broadsides out of Portland, Oregon, who sing songs. They have like filthy EPs that they have created, although the vast majority of their stuff is very family friendly and about science and feelings, and they do really good songs about anxiety and depression and also kind of everything else. They have a song called Serotonin Dopamine, and it's a banger. It's amazing. And then they have, let's see, of course, the Double Clicks, who you almost don't need to mention because they are so well known in nerd folks circles. And then, oh gosh, one that I particularly like is, and has performed with us, is Rhiannon's Lark. Alyssa Yeager, who's been doing she's a solo act, so she's been doing a lot of great stuff from home. Her stuff is family friendly, but sings a lot of nerdy, amazing stuff. A whole song about Job the Armored Donkey from her first D&D campaign, set to The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And which first time I heard her perform was live, and I was like, is that a parody of The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald? Wow. And Matricula, we cannot forget, who, if you like it dirty, she is our sister from another from another crib.
And it's really funny because she has again a lot of really, really family friendly, like campfire type songs, and then will randomly pull out the filthiest nonsense you have ever heard, and just slip it into the middle of a set, and you're like, where did that come from? It's really good.
No, so I got in contact actually with the PDX Broadsides, and I did their what was it that and solo G
a few
weeks ago. With Dr. Jess, and Rhiannon's Lark was on there as well, so that was
yay! Yeah, Alyssa's great. Yeah, we have on our Spotify page, we have a playlist of musicians we love that people can check out. If you search for Misbehavin Maidens and find our Spotify page, you will see all kinds of folks, and we generally shout about them on social media a lot. Partly because it's just good form to lift up others as a part of your social media presence, but also it's a good way to make friends.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's how we got in contact, and that's how
exactly.
we each other. Now you mentioned this term Filk.
Yes.
For the uninitiated, what is Filk?
So Filk was started at Dragon Con many, many years ago, and it was a program misprint. It was supposed to say folk circle or folk sing, and instead it said Filk sing. And so everybody was like, what is Filk? Right? Yeah, that's where it came from. It's like, what is Filk? And this was like ages ago. Like this was like the second or third Dragon Con, right, that this happened. And so everybody decided that it meant fandom folk music, right? So it's like if it was about fairies, or if it was about Doctor Who, or if it was about space aliens, right? If it wasn't about like the American tradition or like an Irish, like ballad kind of thing, then it was, if it was more about something more modern and something more fantastical, then it was a Filk song. So we don't consider ourselves to be a Filk band because not all of our content is fandom related by any means, but Filk is widely used in the community to be like, you don't just sing Whiskey in the Jar, you sing Whiskey in the Jar but with aliens, right? Like so
quick, write that before someone else does.
I want that.
Whiskey in the Jar with aliens.
You
like Lucy in the Sky.
Now you mentioned Dragon Con. As obviously kind of your what other kind of places, what are your favorite places to perform at?
We've really enjoyed a couple of different cons up and down the East Coast. We really have enjoyed working with, we've worked with RavenCon and MarsCon. I would say a lot is kind of our two
down in like Williamsburg, Virginia.
Area cons. So we've enjoyed doing that. We were supposed to be the musical guest of honor at the Ohio Valley Filk Festival this year. Unfortunately, that is not happening. Obviously, we are still technically guests of honor with their virtual convention that may be happening. And they've asked us to come back next year. So we're really hopeful. And they're the ones that do the Pegasus Awards, which are the awards for Filk music. So that's a pretty cool thing.
And have you got any venues that you particularly perform at? Your regular venues that you perform at?
Yeah, we mentioned the New Deal Cafe, and we do love performing at nerdy burlesques and variety shows. We've done that quite a bit in this area.
Those are the best because then you get to watch the other performers who are always awesome when you're done singing.
It's also, quite frankly, very profitable for getting up and singing 3 to 6 songs. It pays better than most like hour and a half gigs. So we're doing 2 full sets. It's a ton of fun.
The scene sounds so much fun out there. I kind of
You should, like, when it is safe to do so, you should come visit.
Come visit. We'll do a whole thing. We'll get Matricula involved and the Reformed Whores and a couple of other groups, and it'll be great.
Oh yeah, the Reformed Whores. The Reformed Whores are great. They're out of New York, and the Merry Wives of Windsor out of California are other bands that I like. I like so many. I listen to so much music, y'all. Just my collection of music is ridiculously varied.
So I've got your 3 albums actually up here. At the moment, I kind of was tidying up the other day and decided. So you've got 3 albums at the moment. First one's Busted, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Busted, and that has now Bedlam Boys on there. I love that song. I remember a band in the UK called Steel Eye Span. Have you ever come across them at all?
No.
If you've not, they're kind of folk prog rock. And it's kind of old traditional British music with really 70s guitar and kind of prog rock kind of sounding on it. So Steel Eye Span.
That is
really
totally
good
up my alley.
Yeah, totally wrote that up.
And then you've got Sloppy Seconds, which is your second album there.
Yes.
Which contains Consent on there. That's one of my favourites on there. I Want to Make Out With You at Cons as well. And the Alphabet song, as mentioned.
Yes, and the Alphabet song.
And you've also got Swearing is Caring, which
in 2020 has never been truer.
Yeah. That's
Swearing
kind of,
is caring.
this is where I've kind of, I remember you kind of promoting this and doing your huge social media drive for, to get that
Kickstarter.
Crowdfunded. And it has, I absolutely love Bibliophilia. I think that is one of my favourite songs by you. And also Pillow Talk as well did make me laugh out loud.
That was a last second edition too. Like we almost didn't have that for the album ready. We were like, Saber, you have to finish this before this album is
And
done.
then I was like, Flint, help me finish writing this. And then you wrote the most filthy verse, so it was great.
Yeah. No one expects the asexual to write the orgy verse.
We were halfway through recording and we're like, we need this song on the album. It is too good. We have to get it done. And Saber had been like almost done with it for months. We're like, come on, we got to do this.
Almost a year. I think I sat on that song for like a year. Then you guys pushed and it happened, and I'm so glad it did.
So many of our originals come from conversations in the car going to gigs that are far away, like when we're in the car for like upwards of 11 hours to get to, more than that, to get to Dragon Con. It's usually like 13 hours with stops, and we just talk about whatever. And Pillow Talk came about because I found an article on Christian swingers, people who do swinging, they're wife swapping or husband swapping or whatever, and in the name of proselytizing and converting people to Christianity, which my brain broke when I saw that.
Their whole thing is they fuck people and then afterwards go, do you want to come to church with us? Like that.
Yeah, so it's sort of like, I was like, what is that conversation like? Is that like you're just finished and it's like, hey, baby, you want to hear about Jesus? Like, that just does not work. And that's how Pillow Talk was born, because it's about what not to say after sex.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So finally, have you got anything kind of planned? What have you got planned for the future? I know it's quite difficult at the moment. What have you got kind of coming up? What, if anything,
everything that was planned for 2020, but in 2021.
Yeah, basically. The cons that hopefully will move to 2021 and everything will be safe by then. We'll be able to do them. Those house concerts that we have set up from our Kickstarter that we really want to get to, because oh my gosh.
And we have our music video.
The music video.
We were supposed to do a music video this year, and unfortunately that's going to get pushed to 2021, but we still are doing it. Like, that's not going to go by the wayside at all.
Yeah. It's
people
storyboarded.
Make that thing happen.
Yeah, it's storyboarded. We have everything lined up. It's basically, we could film it within like a week's notice if it were safe to get together, which it's not.
Yeah. But,
brilliant.
Yeah. In the meantime, we just have been hanging out in our Discord server, and Flint's been doing a lot of Twitch streaming, and that's pretty much everything the band's doing right now.
Okay, Maidens, fantastic. Thank you very much for talking to me about all this stuff.
Thank you so much for
having us.
Haven't asked your permission for this, but I want to chuck a track of yours at the end of this so people can have a listen to it.
Yeah, of course.
I was going to
Yeah,
chuck.
no problem.
I'm going to put Bibliophilia at the end, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I win. That's sorry. That's my favorite song I have written. So
yeah, I was
That's
gonna say
brilliant.
the fun thing. Annie and I both write music, but Annie's songs are definitely like the fan favorites, and mine are the ones that everybody's like, I mean, that's a good song, but girl, for real, what are you talking about?
you write more therapy songs than I do.
You write the songs that make people walk out of shows.
I think
the light, silly ones.
I think my favourite line is it. I'll do you dog-eared style. Kind of did make me laugh.
Dog-eared style, yes.
Um,
And well, that song happened because I was about to volunteer to help catalog at a library that was starting up, and my partner and I just started riffing on bad library sex puns, and I was like, I need to write this down because this is great. And I love libraries. Like, I really genuinely love libraries.
Loves libraries.
Yeah, I do not condone fucking in a library unless you've got a very good arrangement with them. And the song's punchline is it's not actually about fucking in a library. It's about reading erotica in a library. But yes, I really do love and appreciate the fantastic, rare socialist institution in the U.S. that is libraries. Save
the libraries, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me. I'm now going to play the Misbehavin Maidens, Bibliophilia. Bibliophilia. Here we go.
Let's get busy in the library. I want to do it by the books. But if I can't be quiet, we'll get nasty looks. My bits are dewy, and by now my pleasure's feeling overdue. Let's do it in the library. Let's do it in the library. Let's get busy in the library, and then my pleasure will renew. There's so much friction and non-friction to pursue. Oh, put a hold on me, I promise I will not be so reserved. Let's do it in the library. Let's do it in the library. Let's get busy in the library, where we can hide among the stacks. Don't leave me hanging in suspense at the climax. Let's make the graphic novel section much more graphic than it's been. Let's do it in the library. Let's do it in the library. Let's get busy in the library. My lust is hitting overdrive. Shelf 306.7's where I feel alive. For some extra kink, I'll maybe even do you dog-ear style. Let's do it in the library. Let's do it in the library. I've wanted you in the library since I first checked you out. My love life had been in a catastrophic drought. But since I found you, erotica genre, I want to read you all the time. And I want to do it in the library. I want to do it in the library.